red flags and green flags financially. So I have started seeing on the internet, in moms groups, all these things about all of these red and green flags. And from a financial aspect, we have red and green flags as well. There was this season in my life where I genuinely believed that I was behind. And not like kind of behind, like I need to tighten a couple things up, but I believed deeply that I had somehow missed a financial memo, and that everyone else had gotten the handbook on how to build wealth, to manage risk and time the market and plan retirement and optimize the tasks and all the things. And I was just over here like still trying to piece it together. And I remember sitting on my bed one night and I just felt helpless. Tears in my eyes because I thought, like, how hard am I working at this and I still don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Money is not just math. It's biology, it's psychology, it's nervous system regulation, and most of us are walking around in this chronic financial threat mode and we don't even realize it. And so let's talk about the culture that we're living in right now. Your brain believes in what you train it to look for. And so there is this part of your brain that is called the reticular activating system, and its job is literally to filter information and highlight what matters. And so if you are constantly telling it, hey, find threats, guess what it's gonna do? It's gonna find threats. And if you tell it, find evidence I'm failing, it's gonna find it, even if they're minuscule little bitty things. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a real physical threat and a perceived financial instability threat. Welcome back to another episode of Financial Mastery Simplified. I am your host, Jax Crider, and today we are talking a lot about red flags and green flags financially. So I have started seeing on the internet, in moms groups, all these things about all of these red and green flags. And from a financial aspect, we have red and green flags as well. And so I sort of wanted to take an opportunity to talk a little bit about some red and green flags when it comes to financials and just kind of parse this out a little bit. Because there was this season in my life where I genuinely believed that I was behind. And not like kind of behind, like I need to tighten a couple things up, but I believed deeply that I had somehow missed a financial memo, and that everyone else had gotten the handbook on how to build wealth, to manage risk and time the market and plan retirement and optimize the tasks and all the things. And I was just over here like still trying to piece it together. And I remember sitting on my bed one night and I just felt helpless. Tears in my eyes because I thought, like, how hard am I working at this and I still don't feel like I know what I'm doing. And this is the crazy wild thing about that, is on paper, literally nothing was on fire. My bills were paid, income was coming in, plans were in motion. Arguably, I was a lot more successful than a lot of other people. Long-term strategy existed, but internally, and my nervous system was lit up like a Christmas tree. And that's when I realized something that changed how I teach money forever. And it's honestly that money is not just math. It's biology, it's psychology, it's nervous system regulation. And most of us are walking around in this chronic financial threat mode and we don't even realize it. And so let's talk about the culture that we're living in right now. You scroll social media for 5 whole minutes and tell me what you see. You're going to see money red flags, sign you are financially doomed, habits that you keep breaking and keeping you broke, why you'll never retire, are you behind? And it's constant. And it's just a barrage that is hitting us every single day. And we've created an entire financial identity around scanning for what's wrong. And here's the problem with that. Your brain believes in what you train it to look for. And so there is this part of your brain that is called the reticular activating system, and its job is literally to filter information and highlight what matters. And so if you are constantly telling it, hey, find threats, guess what it's going to do? It's going to find threats. And if you tell it, find evidence I'm failing, it's going to find it, even if they're minuscule little bitty things, even if that evidence is super tiny, even if it's distorted, even if it ignores everything that is going right in your life. And right now, culturally, we're feeding our brains with a steady diet of financial danger signals. Market volatility, recession talks, layoffs, housing panic, interest rates, comparison culture. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a real physical threat and a perceived financial instability threat. It simply knows uncertainty equals risk. And so what do? Well, we overthink, we compare, we second guess, we scan, we look for red flags like we're investigators in our own life. And if you're someone who replays conversations about money in your head, if you question every decision 3 times before you make it, if you say no to something and then feel guilty for protecting your own future, if you feel like you should have it all figured out by now, I need you to hear this. You are not broken, you are activated, and there is a huge difference. And so let's go deeper for a minute. Because when your finances feel unclear or unstable, even slightly, your amygdala activates. That's your brain's threat detective system. Cortisol rises and your heart rate shifts and your body moves into this vigilance mode. And from that state, you can't think clearly and you can't plan strategically and you can't trust yourself because survival mode is super loud and it's saying, what if you mess this up? And what if you're behind? And what if everyone else knows something that you don't know? And what if you fail? And here's where this becomes dangerous. We start mistaking vigilance for responsibility. And we think being hyper aware of what's wrong makes us mature. We think anxiety equals diligence. We convince ourselves that self-criticism equals discipline. But that isn't discipline, it's dysregulation. And I'm not saying this from a pedestal. I'm saying this because I've lived it. I have laid awake calculating scenarios in my head, running an instant supply of just calculations. I've refreshed accounts and compared timelines, questioned my own instincts. I've thought, maybe I'm just not wired for this. And that thought right there, that is the real red flag. Not your investments and not your timeline and not your progress, the belief that you are somehow incapable. That's the story that keeps you small. And here's the shift. What if instead of scanning for what's wrong, you started scanning for what's working? What if instead of hunting for red flags, you started collecting the green ones? And before you dismiss this as fluffy, let me be clear. This is not about toxic positivity. This is not about ignoring risks. It's not about pretending that everything is perfect. This is about nervous system retraining. Because when you start noticing what you're doing right, your body shifts. And when your body shifts, your decisions shift. And when your decisions shift, your outcomes shift. Money as self-care isn't about bubble baths and budgeting apps. It's about building eternal safety. It's about teaching your brain that you are capable. It's about replacing chronic threat scanning with intentional awareness. And if you can do that, you stop hiding and you stop shrinking. You stop playing defense with your life and you start building from power. And that is what we're doing today. We are disrupting this red flag culture and we are calling out overthinking and we are collecting green flags like evidence in a courtroom because the case against your capability is weak. And here's the surprising part. You already have more green flags right this second than you realize. And in this next part, we're going to break down this overthinking identity and why it actually means that you're stronger than you think. Let's talk about the overthinker. Because if you're listening to this podcast, there's a strong chance you identify with that word. That's me to a T. You think deeply, you analyze, you anticipate outcomes, you try to see around the corners, and sometimes along the way, that became a flaw in your mind. You started labeling self. I overthink everything. I make things harder than they need to be. I just wish I could be more decisive. I wish I didn't care so much. But let's pause there, because overthinking is not a character defect. It's usually intelligence mixed with fear. It's a pattern recognition mixed with responsibility. It's desire to protect your future mixed with uncertainty. And when you care about money, when you understand that money impacts your family and your freedom, your options, your health, your brain wants to get it right. Of course it does. And that's not weakness. That's serious weight. And weight can either build strength or create collapse depending on how you carry it. Think about working out at the gym, right? And so here's where the shift begins. There's a difference between thoughtful decision making and threat scanning. Because thoughtful decision making sounds like, let me look at the numbers and let me understand what the trade offs are. Let me think this through. Threat scanning sounds very different. It sounds like, what if this ruins everything? And what if I fall behind? What if I can't recover? And when your nervous system is activated, those two get blurred. You think you're being responsible, but your body is in survival mode. And survival mode narrows perspective. It shrinks creativity, it shrinks flexibility and trust. And then what happens? Well, you don't step into your strengths. You don't lean into your instinct. You don't make the bold move. And you don't have the honest conversation. You're not claiming the opportunity that's so rightfully yours because you're simply trying to avoid failure at all cost. And here's what I need to lovingly call out. Avoiding failure at all cost is not a strength, although I once thought it was. It is fear dressed up as control. Think about that for a minute. And I'll say that as someone who has absolutely lived in that space way longer than I like to admit, there was a time when I thought the safest move was doing nothing bold, playing it safe, following every rule perfectly, double checking every decision, and waiting until I felt 100% certain. And this is what I learned the hard way. Certainty, control, it's a myth. It is a straight up myth, baby. Financial growth is not built in certainty. It's built in collaborated courage. And courage does not feel calm. Courage feels like stretch, and it feels like a little bit of risk, and it feels like, I hope to God this works. So let's layer this self-care piece, because culturally, we talk about self-care as like something soft, right? Like rest and boundaries, wellness, therapy, movement, all beautiful and necessary. And not to say that those are not important things, they really are. And I think that they're all very important things. But money is one of the most ignored self care pillars. Because when your finances are chaotic, your body knows. And when your finances feel misaligned, your body also knows. And when you're spending in ways that don't align with like your long term vision, guess what? Body still knows. So when you're avoiding numbers and all of those things, you're creating a tension. And it's not random, it's cognitive dissonance. And the cognitive dissonance is exhausting, right? That constant blur. So, what does real money self care even look like? Well, it looks like things like opening the bank app even when you don't feel like it, and saying no to something that would sabotage your long term stability, having an uncomfortable budgeting conversation and kind of hammering down what you really want or need, choosing alignment over the image that you're putting out to the rest of the world, building a buffer instead of buying validation, something that a lot of us do a lot. And that's nervous system care. Because every time you act in alignment with your future self, your brain registers it as safety. And every time you prove to yourself, I can handle this, your internal stability grows. And here's the wild part. Most of you are already doing this, but you're not giving yourself credit. You're so busy looking for what you're not doing perfectly that you're missing what you're doing consistently. And so you just totally erode your confidence, because the confidence, because guess what? Confidence is built on evidence. And if you never collect any evidence, you're never going to build that confidence. So let me ask you something directly. When was the last time you actually sat down and documented your financial wins? And I don't mean the big ones. Of course, it's easy to be like, oh, I bought a house. Oh, I put $20,000 in my account. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the flashy ones. I'm talking about the quiet ones, the disciplined ones, the ones that appear to be kind of boring, the brave ones. You probably haven't, because they didn't feel dramatic enough or Instagram worthy enough. But here's the thing. This is where most people go wrong. They think that growth should feel explosive. They think financial strength should look like this giant leap that you made. And the truth is, in reality, it looks like micro decisions repeated consistently over time. It looks like I chose to chase long term. I chose to ask questions. I paused before I spent money. I reviewed my plan. I adjusted instead of avoided. Those are green flags. Your nervous system relaxes every time you choose one. Now, let's zoom out for a minute. If you live in constant self-criticism in any other area of your life, your body, your parenting, your career, eventually you would break. But with money, we've normalized a self-attack, and we normalize a shame, and we normalize the I should know better, and we normalize all the comparisons. And all that comparison is just gasoline on the anxiety fire that's already happening inside your head, because you're comparing your internal stress to someone else's curated highlight reel. I mean, let's be real here for a minute. Who's posting about their financial downfall on social media? Hashtag no one. And also, you're comparing your chapter 3 to someone's chapter 12. I have news for you. Not only is your chapter 3 not going to look like their chapter 3, the books are totally different. So stop comparing it. And you're using this comparison to prove to yourself that you're behind, and you're not. You're just in process, and the process feels messy. But reality check here, most things feel messy in life. Nothing goes exactly according to plan. So here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't feel powerful because you're waiting for proof. You're waiting for the account balance and the milestone and the certainty. But power is not a milestone. Power is an identity built by what you choose to acknowledge daily. So if every day you're acknowledging, I'm failing, I'm falling behind, I'm not enough, that is what becomes your identity. But if every day you step back and you acknowledge, I showed up, I made a hard choice, I chose discipline, I faced something uncomfortable, that becomes your identity. And the identity shapes your action, and actions shape outcome, and outcome reinforces identity. And there's the loop. There's a saying I like a lot, and it's the story you tell yourself the most is the story you believe the most. And the story you believe the most is the story you tell yourself the most. Please tell yourself a different story, because most of you are stuck in the wrong loop and you are telling yourself the wrong story. And we are going to break that. So now we're going to systematically dismantle the red flag culture, and we're going to start collecting green flags specifically. And some of these are going to hit harder than you expect. So buckle up for a minute. So let's dismantle something. So the red flags we've already established, they're loud, they're dramatic, they're clickable, they're shareable, because let's be real, fear sells and they make great headlines. 5 signs you're financially screwed, habits keeping you broke, are you secretly failing? All this red flags up, it sells. But the green flags are what's going to build. And so the reason that red flag culture hooks you so quickly is because your nervous system is already scanning for that danger, like we established earlier. And it feels productive to look for what's wrong. And it even feels a little responsible, right? Like, aren't I supposed to be fixing like the things I'm doing wrong? But it keeps you in defense mode, and you can't build power from that mode. And so you build power from awareness and then ownership. And you have to have both. You can't just have awareness and not have the ownership piece. It's really, really important. And so we're going to shift this lens, and we're not going to ignore risk, and we're not going to pretend like markets don't fluctuate, or that uncertainty isn't real, or that we're refusing, to look at the big, what we are refusing to do here is we're not letting fear be the narrator. So, red flag, I don't have it all figured out. Let's start here. How many of you, raise of hands, believe that if you were truly good with money, you would feel completely certain that if you knew exactly what to do at all times, you'd feel great, and you wouldn't question decisions, and you wouldn't feel doubt? So let me interpret this narrative for you. No one who is building anything meaningful feels certain all the time. Not investors or business owners or executives or anyone. I work in the financial industry. I've worked in almost every segment of it, and I don't feel financially sure all the time. Absolutely not. So that belief, that certainty equals like that competence, it's false. That's a false narrative. People who feel overly certain, truthfully, are usually uninformed. They usually are blindly believing that they're good when they may not actually be good. So, healthy growth is going to include recalibration. And healthy wealth building includes asking yourself questions, and healthy strategy includes adjustment. So, here are some of the green flags. You're asking questions, you're thinking critically, you're not just blindly following advice to follow advice. You're evaluating what actually fits your life, and this is maturity and discernment. It's not failure. Now, next red flag. I'm anxious about money. All right, so let's go here. You feel anxious and you feel tight and you feel pressure, especially with all of these crazy talks happening, right? If you're going to label yourself bad with money, but anxiety is often the signal that you're stepping into responsibility. So anxiety means that you actually care about the outcome. And so the problem isn't the anxiety itself on its face. The problem is what you're actually doing with the anxiety. So don't let yourself feel bad about the fact that you have anxiety, because most of us have anxiety to some level around money. Anxiety leads sometimes to avoidance, and that part is a dysregulation. And so if you're letting anxiety lead to awareness and like review adjustment, that's where real growth comes in, because that's what we need. And so the green flag is not the absence of anxiety. That's not what we're looking for here. It's what we are doing next. Did we look at the numbers anyways, even though we really didn't want to? Did we adjust the big budget even when that didn't feel real nice? Did we open the account instead of just ignoring it? Were we not afraid to have the conversation? That resilience right there, that is built through that discomfort. So the anxiety is not the issue. It's what we're doing with it.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Imagine having the power to control your financial destiny, no matter where you start. Welcome to the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform, where financial education is tailored to your unique journey. We cover everything you need, from basic budgeting and saving strategies to advanced investing and retirement planning. Learn at your own pace with lessons that match your level of experience. Whether you're a beginner or looking to enhance your financial knowledge, join our community of learners and benefit from shared insights and expert guidance. The Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform equips you with the skills and confidence to take charge of your financial future. Ready to master your finances? Enroll in our courses today at the Financial Mastery Simplified course and resource platform. Start your path to financial independence now.
Visit us at fms.tips and fms.college for more information.
Hello and welcome to PBJ Mortgage, where your home ownership dreams become reality. Today, we want to share why choosing PBJ Mortgage is the right choice for your home financing needs. At PBJ Mortgage, we're built on a foundation of values that drive us every day. Our commitment to educate, empathize, and empower our clients sets us apart in the mortgage industry. Our clients are at the heart of everything we do, and their success stories speak volumes. With years of experience, our team possesses in-depth knowledge of the mortgage programs, ensuring you receive expert guidance and the best possible rates. We offer a diverse range of loan options to suit your unique needs, including conventional, FHA, VA, and more. No matter your situation, we've got a solution. At PBJ Mortgage, we pride ourselves on providing personalized service. Our dedicated loan officers are here to guide you every step of the way, making the process as smooth as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We understand that time is of the essence, which is why we've streamlined our processes for efficiency and convenience. Transparency and clear communication are paramount. You'll always know where you stand throughout your mortgage journey. Reach out to us today to set up a call to discover your options. If you're ready to make your home ownership dreams a reality, contact PBJ Mortgage today. Let us empower you during this exciting journey. Phone number 4693733-107 www.pbjteam.com. Visit our website or give us a call to get started. We look forward to helping you secure your future home. PBJ Mortgage, where home begins.
Thanks for your patience.
Okay, Next up, I said no, and now I feel guilty. And let me just tell you, this one hits home hard. You said no to the trip or the upgrade. So the next red flag is I said no, and now I feel guilty. And this one, I'll be real, it hits hard. You said no to the trip or the upgrade or something that would have stretched you a little too thin, and now you feel small or like you're behind or that your highlight reel is not going to be as good as somebody else's. You feel stingy, you have FOMO, fear of missing out. But discipline feels uncomfortable, and especially in a culture that glorifies consumption. And saying no sometimes is a power move, and saying no is a complete sentence, as hard as that is for some people to understand. It is a future self protection and identity reinforcement. So if you feel guilty after saying no, it doesn't mean you are wrong. It oftentimes means that you're growing out of an old pattern, because growth always creates friction before the freedom end rolls on in. And that friction is not proof that you made a mistake. It's proof that you're like stretching. And that's a good thing. And another red flag is I compare myself constantly. And be honest with yourself, because comparison honestly feels automatic. So, you're on social media and you see somebody buy a house, or maybe they did some big investment. They hit a huge milestone. You're like, wow, look at that. And then instantly your brain is calculating your deficit. Like, why haven't you bought a house, or why haven't you wrote a book or invested in whatever the heck it is? But comparison is only painful when you assume that the timeline should match. You don't know what their risk tolerance is, and you don't know what their debt looks like or their safety net. You don't know their stress level, and most importantly, you don't know their nervous system cost. And so just because somebody looks ahead financially does not mean they actually feel stable. I'll raise my hand on this one. For those of you who've listened to the podcast for a minute, you know my crazy house situation. Talk about the most financially unstable I've ever felt in my whole life. Now, so much growth has come out of this, but nobody knew what was happening in the background except for the fact that I'm not afraid to talk about it. So some people build wealth with chronic anxiety underneath it. And then some people build fast and then burn out internally. So the green flag is that you care about alignment and not just the optics, right? Like you need to look at like what's happening in your own life, and you need to care about sustainability and not the speed of it. You are building in a way that fits your nervous system. That is the green flag, and that is what matters here, right? And the next red flag is I'm afraid to lean into my strengths. And this one, it's actually really subtle, because some of us are naturally cautious and some of us are naturally bold. Some people naturally analytical and some people naturally opportunistic. But you've always been told, and I don't know what the story is for you, that there's one right financial personality type. This is actually secretly why I hate Dave Ramsey, because he tries to put everybody in the same damn box. So you try to override your instincts. The cautious one thinks they're too conservative, and the bold one thinks they're too reckless. The analytical one thinks that they're too slow. The opportunistic one believes that they're too impulsive. Instead of redefining your strengths, you just try to erase them entirely. And when you erase your instinct, you erode self-trust. Self-trust is a foundation of financial power, truly. It is literally why I created an entire course called Financial Instincts Framework, because I firmly believe that what you are built inside of you, like you literally have everything inside of you to be as successful as you were always supposed to be, your God-given design. And so the green flag here isn't perfection, it's awareness of your tendencies, right? Like once you understand your patterns, you can design around them. And that is the strength. So let's zoom out. Like, look at what just happened. So literally everything that you thought was proof that you were failing has an alternative interpretation. And the interpretation shapes physiology. If you interpret discomfort as failure, your body's going to tighten up. And if you interpret discomfort as growth, your body's going to stabilize it and it's going to normalize it. And so that shift alone changes how you move. And so that's the deeper truth. That most of you are not behind, you are building capacity. And capacity doesn't look glamorous. It looks like being able to review numbers and adjust habit, learn new frameworks, rebuild after mistakes are made, having hard conversations, not being afraid to say no, trying again if it didn't go the way that you wanted it to. Capacity building feels like tension before it feels like strength. And so when you go to the gym, remember, right? Muscle growth, it requires micro tears. It's that uncomfortable feeling as you're trying to build up that muscle mass. And so it's literally no different with financial growth. Financial growth requires identity stretch, and identity stretch feels unstable. But instability during growth is not the same as collapse. And the person who hides because they're afraid to fail, the person who shrinks because they think that they should be further, the person who won't step into their strength because they're terrified they're going to make the wrong move. That's not weakness, it's unacknowledgement. And today we're acknowledging you, we're acknowledging that part of you. And so there was a moment where I truly believed I had messed everything up. Not hypothetically, not dramatically. I mean, I sat there and I thought, I just ruined my whole financial life. And it was after we had made this big financial leap with this house, and it was calculated and it was strategic. We made it from a full place of knowing, but it was bold. And bold doesn't mean calm. And the uncertainty hit, and it hit so hard. Numbers, they felt heavy and everything felt so much tighter, and what ifs got louder. And I remember thinking, like, why would I do this to myself? Why can't I just stay safe? Why can't I just follow some predictable path, the one that everybody else tells you to follow? Which, if you know anything about me, I don't do rules or paths really well. And this is the thing that like nobody really talks about. When you make a stretch decision, whether it's like investing, starting something new, pivoting, new job, restructuring, buying, selling, building, whatever it is, there's a gap. And there's always a gap between decision and evidence. And in the gap, your nervous system loses its mind because there's no proof yet. There's no outcome yet. There's no visible reinforcement yet. It's literally just basically pure uncertainty. And in that season, I mean, if I'm real, it's still going on a little bit. I felt and I feel sometimes behind. And I've compared and questioned and doubted my intelligence and my instincts, and I overestimated myself and all the things. Maybe I wasn't wired for it. Maybe this isn't where God wanted me to be. Maybe I should just shrink down to fit. And here's the thing that I just couldn't see. I wasn't failing, even though in every possible way it looked like it. I was truly expanding. But man, expansion felt like such instability. And it feels that way before it feels like strength. So let me say that again. Expansion feels like instability before it feels like strength. So when your financial identity grows, your nervous system has to catch up, and the lag feels terrifying. So I had to build knowledge and discipline and financial awareness and resilience, a lot of resilience. But I wasn't giving myself credit for any of it. All I could see was a stretch, and all I could feel was the uncertainty. Because culturally, we equate calm with competence. I thought my discomfort meant that I had made a mistake, and discomfort isn't disqualification. Discomfort is adaptation. If you lift a heavier weight than you're used to, your muscles are going to shake. Shaking isn't failure, it's adjustment. And when you increase financial capacity, your identity is going to shake. And the shaking is not collapse, it's recalibration. And here's where the real shift happened for me. Instead of asking, what if I ruined everything? I ask, what if this is what growth feels like? And that one question changed the narrative for me, because suddenly the anxiety wasn't proof that I was incompetent. I stopped blaming myself for the outside sources that were affecting my finances that I had zip control over. It was literally proof that I was stretching. And stretching is necessary if you want expansion. So I want to bring this back to you, because some of you are in that stretch right now. And maybe it's not a dramatic leap. Maybe you're raising your standards, changing your spending patterns, building a buffer, starting investing, structuring some debt, saying no to lifestyle creep, building something brand new. And because it doesn't feel smooth, you assume you're messing it up. But smooth is not the metric here. Alignment is. And alignment often feels uncomfortable at first because you're dismantling old habits and you're confronting old identities, you're challenging old narratives. People in your life don't like that you're outgrowing them, maybe. And it creates friction. And friction doesn't equal failure, it equals change. And I'm going to say something really bold. Some of you are hiding your power because you are terrified of failing publicly. You don't want to be the one who tried and had to adjust. You don't want to be the one who made the move and had to pivot. You don't want to be the one who didn't get it perfectly the right time. A perfectionist paralysis dressed up as standards. No one builds financial strength without recalibration. Literally no one. So if you're waiting until you feel unshakable before you act, you are going to wait forever. Because confidence is not built before action. It's built after evidence. And the evidence comes from movement. And the part that you really need to hear, the version of you who is anxious and questioning and is stretching, she's not weak. She is becoming, and becoming is messy. Becoming includes recalculating. It includes adjusting. It includes nights where you wonder if you are crazy. I mean, I am, but not in that way. But becoming also includes expansion. And expansion requires capacity and stretch requires discomfort. So the next time you feel that internal wobbling, instead of telling yourself that you're failing, try reminding yourself that you're building capacity and feel the difference in your body. Because your interpretation determines your identity, and your identity determines your ceiling. So let's bring this all together really quickly. Remember, money is not numbers. It is not just optimization. It's not just strategy. It is identity, nervous system regulation, self-trust. And when you're constantly scanning your life for financial red flags, you are going to reinforce one message internally. I am not safe unless I am perfect. And perfection, boys and girls, that's a moving target. And there will always be another goal, another investment strategy, another market shift, another milestone, another person ahead of you. So if perfection is a requirement for safety, you will never feel safe. And if you never feel safe, you will never feel powerful. Because power is not loud and it's not flashy. It's not a number and a count. It is the ability to act without abandoning yourself. Read that again in your own mind, in your own head. Repeat it. It is the ability to act without abandoning yourself. It is saying, I am uncomfortable, but I trust myself. I am stretching, but I am capable. I am uncertain, but I am not incompetent. And that is self-regulation, and that is maturity, and that is financial strength. Money as a self-care means you stop using self-criticism as a motivator. You stop believing anxiety is proof you're responsible. You stop equating comparison with ambition. You start building internal stability instead of chasing external validation. Because here's the truth. When there are people with massive portfolios who are chronically dysregulated, and there are people with high incomes who feel constantly behind, people with visible wealth who have zero internal peace. External success without internal safety is not freedom. I know that might sound dramatic, but it's the truth. What good is an account balance if your nervous system never relaxes? What good is the milestone if you don't feel grounded in it? Financial peace is not passive, it is built. It is built through alignment. So you've been collecting red flags, and you've been mentally documenting what I didn't do, what I should have done, what I'm late on, what I didn't know, what I might mess up. Imagine if you simply redirected that mental energy. Imagine instead if you documented, I chose long-term, I opened the account, I had the conversation, I adjusted the plan, I said no, I didn't avoid it, I kept going, because that is evidence. And remember, evidence builds confidence, confidence builds courage, courage builds wealth, not just financially, but identity-wise. And so I'm going to challenge you. For the next 7 days, I want you to track your green flags. Not the big ones, not the performative ones, not the Instagram-worthy ones, but if those pop up, write them down too. the quiet ones. The moment that you pause before spending something, the moment that you checked in with your plan, the moment you chose alignment over impulse, the moment you speak up, the moment you feel fear and act anyway. Write it down. You have a notes app on your phone, write it in there if you need to, and train your brain to see your strength. Because if you don't consciously collect evidence of your capability, your brain will default back to its old pattern, collecting evidence of your failure, and most of that failure evidence is distorted. So stop hiding, stop shrinking, stop pretending that you're fragile. You are not fragile. You are thoughtful, analytical, intentional, aware. Those are your strengths. And if you're in a stretch season right now, you are building something, you're recalibrating something, you're restructuring something. It doesn't mean you're behind. You're expanding. You are not collapsing. You're recalibrating. I hope that this episode has helped you realize how to come back into alignment with the person that you are and see the red and green flags for what they are, because you're not behind. You are building. And that, it's a green flag.